Kendrick Wallace sat at his desk, a 13-year-old boy with bright eyes that usually sparkled with curiosity. Today, however, those eyes were clouded with rage and hurt. He had always been a friendly student who loved to share stories about his favorite video games and basketball plays. Kendrick laughed easily, filled with dreams of what he wanted to become one day, a famous athlete or perhaps a video game designer. But all of that seemed far away at this moment. Moments earlier, a classmate had shot an ugly slur across the room, aimed right at Kendrick. The word stung like a bee, making him feel small and powerless. A wave of heat washed over him as anger bubbled inside, mixing with feelings of betrayal and sadness. How could someone say that? Now his chest felt tight, and he fought the urge to let tears spill over. It was as if his whole world had tilted on its axis. As the laughter of other students faded into the background, Kendrick's heart raced. He felt isolated, as if he were trapped in a dark bubble where sound and light could not reach him. Each breath felt heavy, but he clenched his fists tighter in defiance, refusing to let anyone see how wounded he truly felt. Feeling overwhelmed by emotions, the anger surged stronger within him. He wanted to yell back, to retaliate against the hurtful words that kept echoing in his mind. But something inside him held back. Maybe it was fear of being punished or fear of revealing too much vulnerability in front of his peers. At that moment of intense struggle, something unexpected happened. Rosa Parks walked into the classroom. Known for her courage during the civil rights movement, she carried an aura of calm strength with her. The students turned their heads in surprise as she walked over to Kendrick's desk without saying a word. Instead of trying to fix everything with words or promises that things would get better soon, she simply sat down beside him. Her presence was powerful. It said more than any spoken comfort could express. Instead of feeling more alone, Kendrick suddenly sensed a quiet strength beside him, a silent reminder that he wasn't entirely alone in this overwhelming moment. The classroom was alive with chatter and laughter as students settled into their desks, ready for the day's lesson. Mr. Adrian Wells, the history teacher, stood at the front, excited to share stories from the past. As he began to speak, the sound of a single word shattered the light atmosphere. A classmate, eager to impress friends or maybe just trying to be funny, flung an ugly slur across the room aimed straight at Kendrick. In an instant, the room fell silent. The laughter that once echoed off the walls faded into an uncomfortable stillness as every student turned to look at Kendrick. Gasps of shock and whispers followed, but it was as if they were muffled, distant sounds compared to the pounding in Kendrick's chest. His heart raced. The weight of hurtful words pressed down on him like a heavy stone. Kendrick's face flushed with heat, a mix of anger and embarrassment swirling inside him. He felt exposed, as if everyone was peeling away layers of his skin with their stares. The familiar glitter in his eyes dimmed, replaced by a well of tears he fought hard to hold back. He wanted to shout back at his classmate, to fight against the painful words that wrapped around him like chains. Yet, confusion flooded his mind. Should he respond or stay quiet? How could someone say such a thing? A low murmur filled the room as classmates exchanged uneasy glances. Some looked away in shame while others snickered softly, not fully understanding the weight of what had just happened. The silence that followed felt oppressive and thick. It trapped Kendrick in a bubble of isolation where no one could reach him. Instinctively, he clenched his fists tighter. It was a physical reminder that he wouldn't show weakness even though he felt vulnerable. Suddenly, all eyes shifted as Rosa Parks entered the classroom. Her presence seemed to command respect without uttering a single word. She walked over to Kendrick's desk and sat beside him, deliberate and calm, as if she understood the storm brewing inside him. In that moment of silent support, something shifted for Kendrick. Instead of feeling completely alone in his pain, he sensed a gentle strength right beside him, reminding him that he was not completely isolated in this difficult moment. As Kendrick sat in his bubble of sorrow and anger, a ripple of energy charged through the room when Rosa Parks walked in. The students had heard about her but never expected to see her in their classroom. Known as the mother of the civil rights movement, Rosa Parks was an iconic figure who had made history by standing up against injustice. Her refusal to give up her bus seat to a white passenger was a brave act that sparked a powerful movement for equality. In that moment, her presence brought a sense of respect and awe. Dressed in simple yet elegant clothing, Rosa carried with her an air of calm confidence. Her eyes, filled with wisdom and understanding, scanned the room before settling on Kendrick. She was not just a historical figure from textbooks, she was real, sitting there now, ready to offer her silent support. This unexpected visit added a deeper layer to what was happening in the classroom. The students whispered among themselves, curiosity bubbling over about why she was there. Some noticed Kendrick's distress and exchanged worried glances, while others wondered how someone so famous could be standing next to them. The atmosphere shifted from awkwardness to an unusual sense of reverence, as they realized they were witnessing something special, a moment that illustrated the importance of compassion and solidarity. Rosa's quiet demeanor spoke volumes. She did not rush to fix the situation or lecture anyone about kindness. Instead, she chose simply to be present with Kendrick. Her actions showed that sometimes silence can convey more than words ever could. While many might have felt overwhelmed or intimidated by the circumstances, Rosa's calmness brought an unexpected balance back into the room. Kendrick felt an unexplainable connection with her as she sat by him. In that moment, he sensed that he was not alone in facing the hurtful actions of others. With someone like Rosa beside him, a woman who had faced significant struggles and fought against discrimination, he began to feel a flicker of hope amidst his painful emotions. As Mr. Adrian Wells observed from the front of the classroom, he knew this was a valuable lesson unfolding before them all, not just for Kendrick but for every student present that day. It was a lesson about standing together in difficult times, showing empathy, and recognizing the strength that comes from silent support. As Rosa Parks settled silently beside Kendrick, a soothing calm washed over the classroom. Her presence radiated strength, but it was her choice to remain quiet that spoke the loudest. In a world where words often come first, she demonstrated the profound power of sitting in silence with someone who is hurting. Many might have rushed to offer words of comfort or attempted to fix what was broken, but Rosa understood that sometimes, just being there is enough. Kendrick felt the warmth of her presence beside him, a grounding force amidst his swirling emotions. The weight of her silence allowed him to process his hurt without feeling pressured to respond immediately. It was as if she was saying, "I see you, and I'm here." By not filling the space with chatter or well-meaning advice, she gave Kendrick room to breathe and reflect on the moment. In the midst of such chaos and pain, Rosa's calm demeanor carried a lesson about empathy. Instead of jumping in with solutions or explanations, she allowed Kendrick to feel what he was feeling without judgment. Her ability to be present without needing to fix everything opened a safe space for him. It reminded both Kendrick and his classmates that sometimes, healing begins simply by acknowledging another person's struggle. The students watched closely, absorbing this quiet lesson unfolding before them. They were used to loud responses and immediate reactions, yet here was Rosa Parks showing an alternative approach, one that emphasized understanding rather than confrontation or hasty words. As whispers faded into thoughtful silence, it became clear that she was modeling how to support someone through pain with grace. Kendrick began to relax ever so slightly, finding comfort in the stillness between them. He no longer felt like he had to carry the burden of those hurtful words alone. Instead, he could share that space with someone who had faced her own battles and fought for justice. Rosa's choice to sit quietly transformed the air in the room from tense and awkward to supportive and respectful. Mr. Adrian Wells noted all of this from his spot at the front of the room, recognizing that this moment was not just about Kendrick but a broader lesson for all the students present, about the importance of listening, compassion, and the strength found in solidarity during difficult times. As Rosa Parks sat quietly beside Kendrick, he absorbed the warmth of her calm presence, within which he felt the first flicker of hope. However, the storm within him was still strong. His fists remained clenched, tremors of anger coursing through his body as he struggled to contain his emotions. But in that moment of silence shared with Rosa, a gentle wave of relief started to wash over him. Kendrick took a breath, feeling the tightness in his chest making it difficult to breathe. He knew he needed to let go of the anger that had built up since that hurtful word had been tossed like a weapon at him. Slowly, he turned his attention to his hands resting on the desk in front of him. With intentional care, Kendrick began to open his right hand. The fingers unfurled like petals blooming after a long winter. As he opened his hand wider, Kendrick exhaled deeply, releasing not just the tension but also the frustration and hurt that had weighed heavily on him. It felt as if each out-breath cleaned away remnants of anger and sadness that had once held him captive. This simple act was symbolic, a representation of him deciding to release the burden rather than allow it to overpower him. In that moment, the youthful boy who had been filled with chaotic feelings transformed into someone finding clarity through vulnerability. The breath felt liberating. Even as students looked on in wonderment, Kendrick began to realize that perhaps expressing feelings didn't always rely on words. His exhalation echoed softly in the room like a silent promise. He would not allow this incident to define him. Rosa sensed a shift beside him and maintained her steady presence, reinforcing the idea that sometimes healing starts with acknowledging one's feelings and letting them be. Her strength allowed Kendrick to feel safe enough to process what had happened without fear or shame. With each breath in and out, Kendrick began to embrace the possibility of moving forward. Mr. Adrian Wells watched from the front of the classroom, seeing how these small gestures, like opening a hand and exhaling, held great significance today. It reminded everyone present of how powerful emotional release could be when coupled with support and understanding from those around us, especially during times of pain. Mr. Adrian Wells stood at the front of the classroom, observing the powerful moment unfolding between Kendrick and Rosa Parks. As a history teacher, he had dedicated his life to teaching students about the significance of courage and compassion throughout history, but witnessing it in real time was an entirely different experience. He knew that Rosa's silent support was just as crucial as any lesson he could teach from a textbook. Seeing Kendrick slowly open his hand and exhale brought a swell of pride and hope to Mr. Wells. He recognized that this small action was not just a release of frustration, but a pivotal moment of personal growth for Kendrick. It was a testament to how powerful it can be when someone simply chooses to be there for another person, especially during moments of emotional turmoil. Mr. Wells believed that Rosa's choice to sit in silence beside Kendrick illustrated an essential truth. Sometimes, people need space to process their feelings without the additional pressure of words. In his experience, Mr. Wells understood the difficulties young people face when dealing with bullying or hurtful remarks. He often taught his students about the importance of standing up against injustice. But this moment with Rosa brought to light another side of that lesson: the value of listening and showing empathy. For Kendrick, having someone as respected as Rosa Parks physically present offered him a reminder that he was not alone in facing adversity. Mr. Wells noticed how the other students, initially shocked by the situation, were now captivated by Rosa's calm disposition and Kendrick's transformation. Their eyes, once filled with confusion, were slowly beginning to understand the depth of what they were witnessing. The silent exchange between Kendrick and Rosa conveyed more than words could ever express about solidarity and support. Throughout history, Rosa had always been celebrated for her bravery in the face of injustice, yet today she was demonstrating a different kind of bravery: the courage to simply be present. Mr. Wells reflected on how rare it is to see such genuine compassion in action, and he hoped this moment would not only impact Kendrick but resonate with all his students long after they left the classroom. As the class witnessed this powerful interaction unfold, Mr. Wells knew they were learning an invaluable lesson about kindness and community support, an experience that could shape their understanding of compassion for years to come. As the classroom settled back into a reflective silence after the powerful encounter, the weight of the lesson learned began to resonate with every student present. Rosa Parks' choice to sit quietly beside Kendrick was not merely an act of kindness. It served as a vivid reminder of the importance of empathy and support in times of difficulty. This incident illuminated how crucial it is to acknowledge and validate feelings, especially when someone is experiencing the hurtful consequences of bullying or discrimination. Kendrick's experience highlighted an essential truth: that sometimes words are not necessary to make a difference. The simple act of being there for someone, of sharing space and offering silent understanding, can be more impactful than any well-intentioned advice or consolation. In this instance, Rosa embodied the power of compassion, illustrating to everyone that support can come from just being present when someone is struggling. For many students, witnessing this moment between Kendrick and Rosa was an epiphany. They started to understand that kindness could manifest in various ways, through actions that speak louder than words or through lending an empathetic ear when needed most. The class erupted not just into whispers about what they had seen but into a deeper contemplation about their own actions and how they treat one another. Mr. Wells seized this opportunity to reinforce the lesson at hand. He posed questions about how often they observed others in their midst suffer silently, and asked them to reflect on what it means to truly support someone who is hurting. It became evident that while standing up against injustice is vital, so too is cultivating an environment where friends and classmates feel safe enough to express their feelings without fear of judgment. The discussion shifted toward understanding different perspectives, what it means to stand with someone, listen without interruption, and provide comfort during painful moments even if those experiences differ from one's own. Students began sharing experiences where they felt supported or unsupported, fostering a broader discussion on empathy's role in their daily lives. By opening up this conversation, Mr. Wells encouraged a commitment among his students not only to stand against discrimination but also to practice kindness within their community. The message was clear: true strength lies in understanding one another's struggles and responding with compassion, creating a ripple effect of healing and solidarity in the face of adversity. Together, they could forge a classroom atmosphere rooted in mutual respect and support, communication that mattered far beyond their daily lessons. As the class came to an end, the significance of the day's events lingered in the air. Rosa Parks' quiet yet powerful presence beside Kendrick had transformed what could have been a moment of despair into an impactful lesson on kindness and empathy. It became clear that her choice to sit silently offered Kendrick not just comfort but also a sense of solidarity that resonated deeply with everyone in the room. The students left with newfound insights about the importance of being there for one another during difficult times, recognizing that sometimes words aren't necessary. The image of Rosa sitting beside Kendrick became a symbol of how acts of compassion can speak volumes, teaching them that standing up for others doesn't always require grand gestures or loud voices. Instead, it can be as simple as sharing space and acknowledging someone else's feelings. Mr. Wells reflected on how this experience would shape their understanding of friendship and support moving forward. He knew that by witnessing Rosa's actions and Kendrick's response, they had all learned something invaluable. They understood that bullying and discrimination often leave deep emotional scars, but compassion has the power to heal those wounds. The lesson was not just about confronting wrongdoing but also about creating a safe environment where everyone feels heard and valued. As students engaged in discussions after the class, they shared personal stories about times when they felt supported or unsupported by their peers. This exchange fostered a deeper connection among them, encouraging each individual to consider how they can be more mindful and empathetic in their daily interactions. They began to see the impact of kindness ripple through their community, noting how small actions could lead to significant change. The day concluded with an unspoken agreement among the students. They would strive to cultivate an atmosphere rooted in respect and understanding. With Mr. Wells guiding them, they committed to not only standing against injustice but actively promoting kindness within their school, ensuring no one would face struggles alone. In essence, this incident became more than just an event. It evolved into a lasting lesson on empathy, emphasizing that true courage often lies in silently supporting one another through life's challenges. It served as a reminder that every individual has the power to create an inclusive environment by simply choosing to stand together, fostering healing through silent support when it is most needed.